Welcome back to Believe in Boise State Football, brought to you by Bet Online. This is the Kingdom of Pod. Jeff Caves here, you're there. And, of course, I'm in Flower Mound, Texas. Boise State will be in Albertson Stadium to take on Colorado State. And let's take a look at that game. It's not expected, if the history of the two has anything to do with it, to be much of a matchup. They're 0-11, Colorado State, coming into Albertson Stadium against Boise State. They are soon to be, I think, 0-12. Boise State, since Koetter has taken over, and he noted in his presser, and I will say this about Koetter's press conferences, these are some of his final acts as a public football coach, I think, and you ought to watch him. You can catch him on KTVB or YouTube or wherever. Just search it out, Dirk Koetter press conference, and you will learn a lot about football. I think you'll see a refreshing approach on how to talk to the media and or the fans and answer questions. Many coaches are looking out for their futures, not personally in effect, but when I listen to a lot of coaches, and this includes Avalos and anybody else, they're talking to their players. They're recruiting them through the media. They're saying things that talk about fun and talk about all the things that players need to hear. And coaches want to be consistent. They want to set an example. And Koetter's standing up there at times saying, I don't even know some of these guys' names. And, can I fix Talon Green's throwing motion? He's asked. Not really. I don't have time for that right now. And I was golfing in McCall, and those coaches are on the road recruiting on our off week. I don't want to do that anymore. Where else are you going to get that? So it's must-see TV, and I really appreciate that, and I hope that as this sport continues to progress, coaches can go back and do what they used to do and tell the players, look, I'm talking to the fans and what they want to hear, and I'm communicating to them. I'm asked questions by media people in between, but this is how it really is. I used to hear that all the time. And now coaches are like, everything's transparent because there's so much noise out there, so it's changed. Anyway, I don't want to get off the point. I just wanted to say that. But, since Koetter's taken over, he noted they've been leading in 10 of 12 quarters. And this was always the drum that Avalos was beating. We can run the ball, we can play defense, but we have to have time of possession. And offensively, we're not going to be a high-scoring machine. And some of that stuff has come true. And when you play with a lead, you can act different. And Boise State has, and it's worked. So why would you change what's working, especially with this kind of an opponent? Take your field goals, take your threes. You have a tremendous defense. And so the thinking is, if you're Colorado State defensively coming in against Talon Green in this offense, you don't know who's going to be available to run the football other than Green, with Holani and Genty nicked. And you look at it and say, okay, Air Force blitzed them all over the field in rundowns, and then blitzed them, as Dirk noted, in the red zone. And all of this is designed to make a young quarterback make adjustments and make changes to the blocking schemes or the offensive line to make sure they're changing their protection schemes. However, Dirk has it organized now. All of these things are just designed to confuse a offensive leader who's a young guy just coming into this kind of a level of competition and this kind of responsibility. So will Colorado State do that? I don't know why not. I would probably load up a lot of guys in the box, blitz them sometimes, but leave them there a lot of the times, and make some people make some one-on-one catches somewhere else. And you can't let Boise State run the football all day long. So I might as well gamble that. But, that's easy for me to say. I have to go back and review every offensive snaps in San Diego State, probably the second half, and get a feel for that. And I'm sure that's exactly what Colorado State and their staff have done. So there was a rough start for Colorado State this year. They started out 0-4. They got blown out in almost every game. They got blown out even by Sacramento State at home. Now, Sac State's a great team, They are a good team in the Big Sky Conference, but they got blown out. That's an FCS squad. They got blown out by Michigan, Middle Tennessee State. Maybe not, so bad in there, but getting blown out was not a great start for them. And so I look at it now and say, all right, they've gotten better. They're playing some Mountain West teams. They've won 2 of their last 3. But this offense for Colorado State is averaging like 13 points a game. You're not going to win in any conference doing that. I was listening to Troy Aikman talk about playing offense in the NFL, and scoring's kind of down around the league. And he said that in big games, you're going to have to score points. So if you have great defense and you're not scoring enough points, but you're hanging on to win, there's going to come a day of reckoning where you're going to have to score a lot of points and score points to win football games. Boise State put up 40, and here and there they've done pretty well in that department, but I think it's going to have to be a progression for them. I think if I'm looking at this game, I'm thinking I'm Colorado State, I'm going to make Taylor Green throw it. I'm going to make him throw it, and do everything I can to confuse him, to make him throw it, to put pressure on him, to make sure he can do it, and kind of work it from there. I really couldn't come up with a better game plan for them. If I'm Boise State, I'm a fan. Even Andy, I want to see some progression. How about an old-fashioned 55-7 ass kicking? How about an old-fashioned, oh, man, I ain't going back to second half. They're up by 5 touchdowns. I mean, it's a joke. Boise State, they got to get better opponents. This league sucks. You remember those days? Well, those days are gone. And I'd like to see a return to some of that. And I think everybody would like to see Green throw the football quite a bit. I'm not anxious to see him run the football. I don't think that, I know he can do that. And I'd like to see his reads progress, his footwork. Dirk talked about him throwing off his back foot. A lot of quarterbacks do that. You get hit in the face a couple of times, you'll do that too. But it does look like he needs certainly a lot of work in the pocket. That's not his strength. There's going to have to be some things to get done there. But I would like to see Vidlak don't leave early. I think he will get some snaps. He almost did against Air Force. Even some possibility there. Dirk didn't specifically say it, but if they'd have scored late in that game, there's every possibility that he could have come in for Green, because Boise State would have been in a 2-minute offense and had to throw the ball down the field. I think Noah is very capable at running back. If Genty and Helani are nicked and can't play, or are limpy-gimpy, which I would think Helani may be closer to getting back on the field than Genty, because he didn't play the second half. I'm only guessing here, but I like Noah. I think, as Dirk again mentioned, his ability to run stretch and come back inside, his timing of letting blockers set up is awesome. They're very, very fortunate that they've got that kid. That was a great pickup. I was looking at the stats. I never thought Boise State would be ranked 120th nationally in passing. They have like 8 touchdown passes, like a little more than 1 a game on the season. It's a completely different football team offensively. And I think this offense could be on the way up from here. I think that they're so fortunate that they've got somebody with a clean slate that believes in them, with a agenda that only includes how to win this next drive, how to win this next game, and move forward, not how to advance his own career or worry about the offenses he's run in the past. You talk about somebody who may be struggling on what he's doing. Look at Dirk. He's coached the best athletes in the world, some of the greatest football players that can play, and he's back down to this with a quarterback who's very young, who cannot necessarily do anything in the pocket. He's no Matt Ryan, and he's more Jameis Winston, and even Winston could sit in there. And, he's not going through anything but having a great time. So very, very special, fortunate time that, in my book, in the history of Boise State football, this will always be remembered, especially if it ends well. And If it doesn't end well, I still think we're going to remember it. If it ends well, I'm so happy for Dirk Koetter. His retirement, his time in McCall, his time in Boise, his time around will be so sweet. I think any fan, myself included, is so appreciative that he had that opportunity and he handled it well. I don't think anybody felt he was looking over anybody's shoulder getting that gig. So for nothing else, this will be a fun game to see how that all develops. And I'll talk to you after it. Thanks for joining me here on Believe in Boise State Football, the Kingdom of Pod.